Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a very special top and I'm going to name it Sorana. I'm going to tell you how is this top. So I've got already my pieces, my pieces cut already, and this is a really great top. It can be used for sports or for pole dance. So as you can see, this top has a beautiful mesh insert like that, and the technique I'm going to show it to you, it will be actually with a not reversible. It will be done with a cover stitch. So, and it has an open back like this, and I will offer as well the version of closed back for the ones who they don't want an open back. I have as well my band. For this top I've used a 9 centimeters band on the bust band, and I've cut the same length of elastic, and this elastic is a 4 centimeters width elastic. So I'm going to give you a tip. On the bust band you can do it thicker or thinner, and the way to know how thicker you want or how thinner you want, in case you want to add elastic. Like, I love adding elastic as it gives a better support. So what I do, if I'm choosing a thinner or a thicker elastic, I'm bringing the elastic like that in, and I'm introducing it inside, and I make sure that what I have left here, it's actually what it would be on my seam allowance. Yeah, so this is a good way to for you to know in case you choose a thicker elastic. Yeah, so we are going to start by first adding, so practically the mesh will be sandwiched inside. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to place it on top of my lycra fabric, and I'm going to pin. So I'm going to leave the lining aside, and I am going to pin, sorry, I'm going to pin like this, and I am going to do a basting stitch. So I want that my two fabrics are together for when I'm going to sew them onto my lining part. So for this I'm going to do a basting stitch, which will be over looking like this, right? So I want to hide the stitch, so this is the reason why I'm first doing this basting stitch. So this will be actually the first step we will be doing, and I said it many times, a basting stitch is practically just a straight stitch, and it has a little bit of the longest stitch length. I use it, and then I actually make small cuts into it, so this allows my fabric to stretch. Yeah, so you see it's on the highest stitch length, and the mesh I'm using, actually it's a lycra mesh. This is actually very important. It's a 4-way stretch fabric. Okay, So here it is, like this. Okay, and we will be wanting to hide the seam inside. Okay, so as you can see, I'm doing these little small cuts in between. And now I'm taking my lining piece, which I just set aside. Okay, so now you take your lining side and now you're going to place it on top of the mesh and the front piece. Okay, you pin it, and now you can use a zigzag stitch or a serger. So I have a serger, so yes, I prefer to use my serger, but in case you don't have a serger, I recommend you using a zigzag stitch. So I didn't add elastic here, but if you wish that it gives kind of like more support, I definitely recommend you could be adding elastic as well. So the way we've constructed this half part, so you see I've sewn the lycra on top of my lining, right? So the way we've constructed it, the mesh is sandwiched in between, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and I'm going to do a cover stitch, because I don't want that my fabric would move around. So I don't like the idea of of it moving, right? So I go ahead and I'm just doing a cover stitch. Okay, so I did already the cover stitch, and don't worry about it's waving. You're gonna give up a little press later and it will stay straight. And now we are actually going ahead and we are going to do the other side. So we are doing the other side in the same way we did the first part, yeah. So I'm placing the lycra on top of my lining. I prefer to have my lining always I prefer to have my lining always on top, in case that my foot of my machine is not feeding it correctly. So I know it will feed for sure my lycra very good. So when I'm stitching this piece, I always like to have my lycra on top. All right. So we are going to repeat exactly the same step. I will be doing first a basting stitch. As you can see, I'm going slightly bit quicker on this part. Okay, so the same, I'm making these little small cuts into my bastic stitch because I want that it's allowing elasticity. Of course, you can also skip this step in case you don't want, but I definitely recommend it for whoever wishes. Okay, so we've got here our mesh lycra. We are going to place the back piece on top of the mesh and the lycra, and we're going to serge it exactly the same way we did before. Okay, so the same, I'm going ahead and I'm going to cover stitch it as well for the same reason, because I don't want it that it will. Okay, so I'm going to cover stitch this part as well. And I always try to make sure that I'm having some thread behind in case that I have to do like very close to the edge, the cover stitching. So I'm helping my fabric to feed the first stitches. So I'm slightly pulling my lining so it doesn't bunch underneath. Okay, so we have our front piece already created, and I will give a little press in a minute. All right, so now what we are going to do is actually doing the back piece. And what I am going to do right now, I am first going to place my lycra on top of my other lycra like this, and I'm going to pin the sides. I'm going to pin the sides and the shoulders area just of the lycra, and then I will do the same step for the lining. So I'm doing this for the lycra first and then for the lining. Like this, and now the shoulders areas as well. Both shoulders. And I'm going to do a straight stitch like I did before. So afterwards I will have my seam hidden inside as well. So I'm going to do a straight stitch over all these pieces here. I'm going to do one with you and then I do off camera all the rest of them. So a straight stitch, a basting stitch practically, and I am going to do the same thing. I make little cuts. I went really fast here, don't worry. It's just to have my fabric secured. So yes, I'm going to do the other shoulder and the other shoulder all on the lycra, and then I will show you how I'll do the lining. I will place it on top actually. So yes, I'll do off camera all the rest. Okay, so I did what I told you I'm going to do. Just for the lycra, I've stitched the sides and my shoulders, right? For the lining I didn't do. We are going to do the same thing, but I'm going to turn it. So this is my back piece. I'm going to turn it on my right side, yeah. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to place this back piece, I'm going to place it on top, right? So here you have two options. You can do another basting stitch, or you can just go ahead and serge it. I will be going ahead and I will serge it. I will make sure that my fabric is not really moving. It's not really, because it's a bit raw lining, so it's definitely not moving around, but I will be making sure that I'm pinning it correctly. And you will be stitching over 4 layers. Very, very important for you to know. So for example, here, if you have an issue, I recommend you to do another basting stitch. For me right now, as my lining, it's not really moving, I'm just pinning it, and I make sure that I have lined all my 4 layers of fabric. It's like this way that we are doing now. It will help actually to hide the seam of shoulders and side, to hide it inside, so it will not be visual towards the inside. So it's a little bit tricky, because you're kind of like placing the back piece on top of your front side, but you will see that it will turn out great. Okay, so I'm going ahead and I'm actually going to do I'm going to do all these 4 stitches. So I will show you how it will unfold afterwards together. So in case you chose not to do the basting stitch, I recommend you go slow, and definitely when you're starting, be sure that you are sewing over 4 layers of fabric. Sorry. All right. And this is my last. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to unfold. I'm going to separate my lining from my other side of lining, and my front piece from the back piece. So I've separated them, and look how beautiful I've hid the seams. Yes. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it on the wrong side of the fabric, and I'm going to, or on the lining side of the fabric, better said, sorry, and I'm going to pin all around my arms openings. So I'm going to pin around the neck arm openings. I'm going to leave the and the open back as well. I'm going to pin it. The only part I'm going to leave undone, it will be the lower part of the top. This will not be pinned. Okay, so I'll be pinning it off camera. Once I've pinned everything, I will be showing you what is the next step. Okay, so I've pinned everywhere where I told you I was going to pin. I pinned the back opening, the neck, and the underarms areas. And now I'm going ahead and I'm going to add my latex elastic is a 6mm elastic, and I will be adding it everywhere except actually the neck area, because I've got a little bit of tulle, and I don't want that my elastic will be visible when I'm cover stitching it. So I will be using, for that I'll be using a transparent elastic. So I'm placing the elastic by hand underneath, and I'm slightly pulling it because I don't want the fabric to wave. So I'm slightly pulling it, not too much. In case you have an elastic foot, you're always welcome to use it. I do have an elastic foot, but I prefer to actually ruche it by hand, since it's much easier for me to see my fabric and where is everything. The elastic foot is actually quite big. Okay, so I did with you the hole, the open back, and next I'm going to add the elastic in all the other sides. I just wanted to show you. Look how beautiful it is. It's slightly creased, the fabric, which will help me not to wave. So I'll be adding the elastic in the arms areas, and then in the neck area I will be using this transparent elastic, which is also very, very good. I definitely recommend using it for sportswear and activewear, but it's a little harder to find. Okay, so I've added elastic in all the areas where I told you. And in the neck area, I've added transparent elastic. So like I said, I slightly pull it so it won't wave. And I've got here my cricut. And like I said, I'm going to do like a slight press on the side, which where it waved a little bit, my fabric. And I'm very, very careful with the temperature, that I'm not burning by any chance, especially my mesh fabric. And I go very careful, and I don't press it really, really hard. Yes, perfect. Okay, now I just turn it off. And next I'm going to actually cover stitch all around. So you can use a zigzag stitch, or you can use your cover stitch machine. So like I said, I'm using most of the time my cover stitch. And I'm going to do one with you and all the rest by myself. So I'm going to do the neck area, and I like to start where is the seam, so near the shoulder, and I go a little bit on the back, so I'm not starting right over the seam. and over these like bulkier parts I help it a little bit with my fingers. I'm slightly pulling it. And just so you know, actually for the final pattern, I'm going to modify it a little bit, and I'm going to remove I'm going to remove the seam allowance on my mesh part, because I'm thinking maybe not everybody has this transparent elastic, so I'm going to remove it so you don't have to add a transparent elastic. You can add just a normal elastic, so you won't have the mesh coming to the neck. I will show you in a minute. So in the original one, I will be removing these beads, so then the lycra will be connected with each other like this. Okay, so my neck is already, my neck side is already done. I'm going to do it all around the arm openings and as well in the open back part. I'm going to do this off camera. Okay, so our top is almost ready and I'm so excited to try to try it. I know I would love it. So next up I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to do a basting stitch on this side. So I'm securing my lycra on this, so it will be prepared for my for the moment when I will be adding the band. And actually together with you I will be I already showed it this in another video, but I will be repeating it again. I'm going to add the elastic to my elastic band. Sorry. So first what I'm going to do, I'm going to secure my elastic. So I'm just placing it like that on top of each other, the two ends like this. Great. Okay, so that's one step, and now I'm going to place my band. I'm going to fold it into placing it right side on top of each other. I'm just going to serge the end of it. Okay, and I didn't pin it. So I'm going slow. Okay, and now on the right side of my fabric, I'm going to actually do a straight stitch over my band. So I do a straight stitch over my elastic band, and I will be going all over. And since it's feeding slightly stranger sometimes because of the elastic band being a little bit thicker, I will go ahead and I will pin first, so I make sure that it will be feeding correctly as much as I need. So since my elastic band it's a little thicker, my sewing machine sometimes does not feed it correctly without pinning it. Okay, so I've pinned it. And now I do the straight stitch, which I was telling you about. It's actually the same. It's a basting stitch, which later I will be making small cuts into it. It's much easier for me having pinned the elastic all around. Okay, so I'll be making my small cuts into my band, and I will be making my basting stitch into my top, and then I show you the next step. Okay, so now we are ready to add the band to the top, the underbust band to the top. And what I'm going to do first, I'm going to mark where's my center of my band on the other side, like this. I'm going to mark it, and for me to be easier to understand it, what I usually do, I'm turning my top, I turn it on the lycra, on the lining part, right? And I turn it upside down. Why? Because I'm going to introduce, this is my right side of the fabric, right side of the lycra, so I'm going to introduce it into my underbust band like this, and I'm going to pin the center with the center seam of my top like this, and I'm going to pin it all around. I will leave the back opening last, like this, and I'm pinning without pulling the fabrics or anything like that. The band is slightly smaller than my top, but we will be using that part to stabilize the back opening. So I'm pinning it all around my right side of the fabric of my underbust band together. Actually, here I should have pulled a little bit. I'm going to match the seams, and I'm going to correct it. Yes, so I matched the seams. And I'm going to slightly pull my band. Like this. All right, so band is matched, and I'm going to go now and I will serge it all around, including this part as well. Why is that? Is because afterwards, when I'm going to top stitch it, this will help me to make sure that I'm aligning good my two seams up and down. So I'm going all around, and I slightly pull my underbust band. So I pull it a little bit. And I will be making sure that I'm lining my center of my band together with my center of my okay. And as I said, I keep going also because I need to do this last bit as well. So I make sure that I'm guiding it correctly underneath, like this. I'm going to be use my pliers to put it under. Perfect. Okay, so now the last step will be actually top stitching the band. So you see it like this. This is my lining side. Now we will be turning it on the lycra side, and it doesn't matter whether it will be your front or back. And what we are going to do, you see here, this is the wrong side of the fabric. Yeah, so I'm going to unfold my elastic, then fold it over once and fold it over twice. So I unfolded it, and this way I brought the right side of the fabric on top. So the same, now I'm going to pin it, and I will be starting with the seams. I hope you see it good. So I like always to start with my side seam, and I'm going to pin all around. So you see, I'm going to match this part with this seam, which should be inside, hidden completely. And here you see it should be, I'm going to show you like on the inside, this part should be folded inside like this, and then I'm going to pin, and the same, I make sure that this bit is folded inside, and I'm going to pin it. So yes, I will be pinning everything off camera because it might take a little while. I will be pinning everything off camera, and once I've pinned it, I will show you how I'm top stitching it. Okay, so my band is all prepared to top stitch it, and I will actually start on the back side. So I'll be starting here. Why? And I will explain now why. Because it's a little trickier, this part. So I'm going to slide my band underneath like this. So at all times, I want this seam to be inside, like this, hidden. Okay. And when I'm getting to these edges, the same, I want my edge, my fabric, I don't want that it comes out, so I want that it's actually inside. So I'm not going very, very fast because I don't want that this part would be moving. And like I said, I'm guiding it here a little bit. So this bit stays underneath, hidden. And the same on this side. I'm slightly pulling my elastic band. The same on the side where you have the mesh. This bit has to be hidden like this. And I'm almost done. Okay, so look at this beautiful top. I'm so excited. I want to give a try. This is very, very beautiful. And the same, if you feel like you want to give a little press over, you can always give a press. So like I said, I'm going to remove the seam allowance from here, so this bit, it will not be in the final pattern. I'm going to modify this. And yeah, this is my open back and it looks really beautiful. I'm really happy with the result. So happy sewing.